Hey guys, you are watching the In Third Person comic book show. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com, a website about video games, board games, comic books, and other nerdy pursuits. And today on the show, we are going back to Spider-Man, who's another one of my favorite characters. Actually, I thought he was okay. Like, I liked the 60s cartoon. That's my first exposure to Spider-Man, and then the 90s cartoon. And the movies were hit and miss. But I think Spider-Man is actually best in the comic books. And last time I talked about Spider-Man, I covered off some of the issues that kind of evoked specific emotions out of me that I think Spider-Man is very good. At least the great Spider-Mans are able to bring out of people because they're more than just dudes fighting each other. And I wanted to talk about a different Spider-Man series that definitely evoked some feels, but maybe not the type of ones I was talking about before. Oh, side note, at Fan Expo, I got a whole bunch of art, and you can see Spider-Man right in the middle there, and just below that is a Marvel comic picture of me with Spider-Man, me shooting out the webs like, I'll just take a picture and put it up here so you can see it. Really neat time at Universal. That was actually, as Steph pointed out, the very first picture I took as an engaged man, which is kind of funny in a way. So I'm getting sidetracked. We wanted to talk about Spider-Man, and in this episode, I wanted to talk about Spider-Man Torment. So this was late 80s, I believe, and Todd McFarlane had been drawing Spider-Man for a little while now, and Marvel decided to give him his own Spider-Man series just called Spider-Man. And the big difference this time was that Todd McFarlane was doing the art and the writing for it. So this initial arc is 5 issues long. I actually happen to have all 5 issues that I got at a small town flea market for $10 for the whole thing. So that's issue. Here, let me focus on these covers some more. So issue 1. This was one of the first, if not the first, variant cover comic. So there was the regular one, the gold one, and the platinum one, and this one's the platinum one. It was supposedly supposed to be the hardest to find, but these are everywhere. At Fan Expo, everyone was trying to blow out this particular run of Spider-Man comics for dirt cheap. Next, we've got this one cover here with the lizard. This third one, some weird like claw thingies and Spider-Man names upside down. Gotta get the glare out of that. Okay. For Spider-Man getting messed up. I should just show the pictures. I'm an idiot. That's okay. And then this is the last one, right? Yeah, Spider-Man coming out of a collapsed building. So, I mean, I've never... Growing up, I remember the name Todd McFarlane coming up a lot. And that was because of Spawn. Like, when there was any advertising for Spawn, it was always like, it was from Todd McFarlane, and I had no idea what that meant. And it was only relatively recently, I'd say within the last year, where I realized that, oh, Todd McFarlane's a thing because Todd McFarlane worked on Spider-Man. And now that I've gone through and read all of these, like, I don't understand the hype. Like, the art, like, sure, it was ahead of its time. It was a little more detailed and gritty, sort of Jim Lee style art and all of that. Like, cool. Some of it I don't think actually looks all that great, but anyway, that's subjective thing. The thing that drove me nuts about this particular run is the writing, and I think the writing is atrocious. Of the comics I've read, this stuff so far is the absolute worst. And I'll tell you why these are so bad. It's because so much of the writing, and I think where it comes from, is that Todd McFarlane, I'm theorizing here, and maybe the theories are out there on the internet. They probably are. I don't know. I get the sense that Todd McFarlane, artist first, drew a whole bunch of pictures. And then from there, he was like, oh, I gotta convey a story with these. So he kind of stitched them together and then it seems like wrote after the fact. So almost all of the writing comes from a narrator who doesn't speak very eloquently, or evoke any of the emotion other than just dark. It doesn't read very well. The voices of the characters, the few times they do actually talk, it doesn't read well, and it doesn't feel like the voice of the character coming out. Peter Parker doesn't sound like Peter Parker. Spider-Man doesn't sound like Spider-Man. And then the story itself of like there's a lizard and then there's a cheetah person, and then the way it ends where nothing really gets resolved, it's stupid. Just dumb, dumb, dumb. Wow. Remember I mean, I only paid $10 for this, but I was horribly disappointed by Torment. And I can kind of see why this isn't really held in that high regard. Like, people remember it because it was super popular and whatnot, but it doesn't necessarily have the legacy of some of the other stories I covered, like A Craven's Last Hunt or Death of Gene DeWolf is very niche, but it's an excellent story, and this is not at all good. So, I mean, for maybe even for historical purposes, like I don't even bother with these. They're just not that good in hindsight. Maybe if I was a teenager and back in the late 80s and I'm looking at this stuff like, oh man, look at this amazing art and the writing, who cares? But I care. I actually care a whole lot about the writing. The art I can go either way on. I'm more acceptable of bad art if the story's really good, but here, like, it's unacceptable. This is awful, awful, awful junk. Like, the Spider-Man stuff, don't go back for it. We'll talk about some better Spider-Man stuff at some point in the future. I've been reading some Ultimate Spider-Man. I just finished Marvel Masterworks Spider-Man Volume 1, and there's some other stuff in here as well that's Spider-Man related that I want to talk about that actually has me more jazzed than Torment, but I really felt like I had to get this off my chest because it's been driving me nuts for a little while now. So with that, we're going to wrap things up from here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, you can like it on YouTube. You can share a comment. I haven't talked about comments, but hey, if you liked Torment or you hated Torment, let me know. Let's keep this conversation going. And you can also subscribe to the channel on YouTube, youtube.com/jetinThirdPerson, and check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more stuff on video games, board games, comic books, and other nerdy pursuits. So until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you come back for the next one. See you later.